G'day guys, how we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. I almost said walking boxing there because I do it so often. It is Monday, December 23rd, 2024, 2 days before Christmas, and it's great to have you all along. I'm sure we've got a lot to talk about tonight. The fights over the weekend. I've got some big fights coming up over the next few weeks. So just a quick heads up before I forget. I will be doing a show next Monday, so it'll be, I suppose this is the Christmas edition, isn't it? I didn't even think to put some Christmas decorations up here in the studio, but next week will be the New Year's edition, and what I'm planning to do is sort of tie it in with a bit of a virtual award show. So I'm going to just watch out for our Instagram account, or you can put it in the comments below, whatever you want to do. Different categories: Fighter of the Year, Upset of the Year, KO of the Year, all that sort of stuff. I'm going to put it on Instagram as a poll, and then vote for it. And next week I will announce all the winners who gives the most votes. So there won't be a poll, because I know a lot of, well, actually, I was going to say the word poll. There won't be a poll, it'll just be a question. Okay, if I put a poll up, there's going to be people say, well, I don't agree with any of those. I think this one. So I'm just going to put a question, and you can put in there who you want, and I'll record all the results, and we'll go through it next week. So things like, what did I say, fighter, the fight of the year, upset, KO, and I'll think of some other prospect of the year, all that sort of stuff. Maybe disappointment of the year, I don't know. We'll think of some different categories to go over, but just a bit of a review of the year as well. And I think I'm going to do a standalone video of the year in review for Australian boxing, because there's been a lot. And if I do it in this format with all the interaction with you guys, it gets a little bit hard to do it properly and go through it quickly. So I'll do that as just a standalone recorded show. So that's the first thing. I will be doing a walking boxing tomorrow. Might give Christmas Day a miss, I think. You guys have got better things to do than look at me on Christmas Day. So, but yeah, still plenty to talk about. What did you think of the fight yesterday? Tyson Fury unsuccessful in his quest to reclaim the heavyweight title from Alexander Usyk. Check out my review that I did. I also talked about it on Walking Boxing this morning. So I've covered it in depth, but I want to hear your feedback. There was a lot of comments and everything today on the YouTube review that I did in the Walking Boxing. So let me know what you think. I'm sure, judging by the amount of comments we've already got in the chat, I'm sure there's going to be plenty to discuss anyway, guys. And as always, this is your show. Just put in there in the chat what you want to talk about. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to relate to yesterday's fight. It can be the Sam Goodman fight. It can be anything you want to talk about. It is your show, so let's get into it. Here we go. Now, I'm going to start, I think, at the top. I'm going to try and sort these out as we go. I'm going to start with Big J here. You've got in early there and had a few comments. Hey, mate, so Foxtel has been purchased by DAZN, and it's very concerning. Considering that DAZN is in the red and had many issues yesterday, it ain't looking good. But does this mean the end of $70 pay-per-views? Well, good question to start us off there, Big J. Look, I'm not overly stressed about the whole thing, particularly the streaming, because if it's on Foxtel, of course, it won't necessarily be streaming. It will be a live broadcast, if that makes sense. Although Netflix, that is a streaming service, isn't it? So that's probably the first thing where it differs. That if it's on Foxtel or Main Event, it's not streaming, it's satellites and all that going in. So I don't think we're going to have the same issues that we had firstly with the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight, and then yesterday, which was an absolute debacle. I'm trying to do the watch along. I actually ended up being very, very lucky because I missed 2 rounds, I think, or a round and a half. Then I was able to switch from the phone app to the PC, and that worked no drama. I had no commentary, but I was able to at least see the fight clearly with no glitches, no hiccups, no freezing, nothing like that, and it was just all good. And it didn't really matter as far as the commentary goes, because I always have it turned down anyway. But as for being in the red, I have heard that too, Big J. And look, there's lots of different things out there. The thing, well, if you don't know about it, by the way, it's a $3.4 billion purchase that DAZN have bought Foxtel. Look, I think until we know all the facts, Big J, it's just going to be hard to figure it out. There's no way any bank in the world is going to give a company that's in the red $3.4 billion without secured loans and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not sure about that. I'm sure there's lots of guarantors and business plans, all that sort of stuff. So I suppose we'll just have to wait and see how it's going to go. And as far as the question there about the end of $70 pay-per-views, there's no way, mate. There's no way. We all pay $70 now. There's no way they're going to let us off the hook. Because you've got to remember, this is the other thing, the no limit factor. How does that work into everything that's going on? I've got a feeling that deal is going to come to an end. I think it's going to be open slather to the Tasman fighters of the world, maybe the Ace Boxings, maybe the Wild fighters, I don't know, but certainly I think Tasman fighters will slip in there. They're with DAZN, of course, already. And the $70, that as long as we keep paying $70, Big J, they're going to keep charging us for it. It's a little, and I won't go into it now. I'll be here all night. I have tried to explain it before in certain videos that I've done, that it's just a little bit different. I understand on the surface paying $30 for the heavyweight title fight and then paying $70 for, say, an Nikita Tszyu pay-per-view. I know on the surface it just looks like a blatant rip-off, but there are lots of moving parts in it. But as far as that question there, mate, I don't think it's the end. If anything, it'll probably go up. They've got to recoup $3.4 billion, remember, and as long as we pay it for the Tszyu fights and whoever else, they're going to continue to charge us. So I'll get one more of yours there, and then I might mix it up a little bit. Fights I would like to see in 2025. Nikita Tszyu versus Brock Jarvis. Michael Zarafa versus Cohen Mazudia. Justice Huni versus Moses. I'm assuming that's Itoma, the little assassin, isn't he? Well, not so little. Jai Patai versus Zerdo Ramirez. Tim Tszyu versus Virgil Ortiz. Jazzy Parr versus Taylor Robertson. Liam Paro versus Stevie Spark. And as always, Susie Ramadan versus Shannon O'Connell. Your thoughts on fights for 25. All right. Well, I don't think the Susie Ramadan, Shannon O'Connell fight's going to happen, mate. I've been trying to make that fight for 10 years, and I don't think it's going to happen. I'm pretty sure, actually, Susie might be retired. I'm not sure. And Shannon's obviously got a world title in her sights next year. I like Nikita and Brock. I think that is a definite fight to happen next year. Zarafa and Koa Mazudi is an interesting one. That will only happen if neither Tszyu brother is interested in fighting Michael Zarafa. I think that's the next step. I think that would be good. I'm not sure, and I'll pose the question because I know it's going to happen. They'll make that a pay-per-view. Michael Zarafa, Koa Mazudi will be a pay-per-view. Will you pay to watch it? Will you pay $70 to watch Michael Zarafa versus Koa Mazudi? And apologies for raising my voice there, but I have to ask the question. Justice Huni versus Moses Itoma, that ain't happening next year, mate. That it definitely ain't happening. Jai Patai versus Zerdo Ramirez will 100% happen, in my opinion. Tim versus Ortiz, I would doubt it. Maybe the end of next year, but I would doubt it. I think Tim needs a year to get back onto the scene. Virgil Ortiz has already got a fight lined up for February. The odds are he might fight once more end of the year. I doubt Tim will be ready to fight someone of Ortiz's caliber that early, I would think. Jazzy Parr, Taylor Robinson is an interesting one, Big J, because I think Jazzy Parr will be all for it, but Taylor Robinson has gone missing. She's gone missing, and I'm not sure. I know she's in the States, I think, at the moment, but I'm not sure whether that last fight where she was extremely lucky to get away with a draw has maybe just shaken her up a little bit, and maybe she needs more work in the gym. I don't know, but that is an excellent fight. Big J, and the final one there, Liam Paro, Stevie Spark, I doubt it. I think if Liam Paro is going to fight a domestic fight, it's going to be George Camboose. So Stevie Spark's got a long way to go, Big J, and I would quite understand that Liam Paro's team would say, why would we fight Stevie Spark? It's a risky-ish fight. I think Liam Paro wins the fight pretty easily, if I'm being honest, but I'm a fan of Stevie. I just think Liam Paro's 3 levels above. Just my opinion, okay? And I don't think Liam Paro is going to go backwards, at least in 2025. Stevie Spark probably needs 2, if not 3, wins next year to even be on Liam Paro's radar. Liam Paro's in the big time now. I know he's not world champion anymore, but he's in the big time. He's in that sphere, I suppose, that George Camboose has found himself in and has been in since the Lopez fight. Stevie Spark's nowhere near it at the moment, so I would say he's going to need 2 or 3 fights. So I hope I've answered that there, Big J. I'll go to someone else there. What have we got? Andrew Williams, Moses Itoma versus Huni. You're kidding, says Andrew. Suicide. If Huni's manager has a brain, it's a no. Yeah, look, I'm not going to say not at all, Andrew. I think right now I'm with you. That's a bad fight for Justice. But look, you don't know. Justice, like Itoma, is a young guy. And let's give Huni a chance to show what he's got. He's got all the ability in the world. A lot more skills than, say, Dempsey McKean. That's different type of fighter, different physique, all that sort of stuff. Is Otama going to be able to just nail him with left hands one after the other? Huni's a lot more agile and skilled, I think, than Dempsey McKean, and obviously not as tall and an easy target. I don't know. I'm certainly not going against you, Andrew. It's a little bit early to upset you. We'll leave that for later in the show. I'm sure some topic will come up. Just get a Snickers in before we get going, mate. But I'm with you there. Right here and now, absolutely not. I don't think that's a good fight for Justice Huni at all. Big J again. Fury and McKean should both retire. The AJ for Fury is just meaningless now, and it's just a bragging rights cash grab. Unfortunately, you can't rate Fury very high, considering only 2 names on his file. Yeah, I think you've been a little bit rough on Tyson Fury there, BJ. I do agree that maybe it's been shown that he's not the potential all-time great that we thought he was. Looking at his resume, the aging Klitschko, the very, very one-dimensional and limited... I was going to say Dempsey didn't fight him, did he? Looking at your comment there, Deontay Wilder, and apart from that, not really anyone of note. It's easy in hindsight, I suppose, but yeah, it's. I do agree you can't rate him as highly. Anyway, at least anywhere near we thought where he might be. I mean, there was talk at one stage he was the greatest heavyweight of all time, which I always scoffed at. The other point you've got there, AJ versus Fury. I know it's sort of meaningless, Big J, but it's not. I know in the scheme of things, it doesn't really achieve a lot for either guy because Alexander Usyk is looking at maybe Dubois, maybe Jai Pataya. We don't know. Whereas he's already beaten both those guys twice, so I understand what you're saying there. But I guarantee you, AJ versus Fury earns twice or if not 3 times as much money as Usyk versus Dubois. It's as simple as that, and that's why the fight makes sense and I think will happen. I've said a couple of times over the last few days, that is the fight I think, or that fight in particular makes more sense than ever. AJ versus Fury. Just all roads lead to that fight. Both coming off losses, both in the twilight of their career, both with not a lot of prospects going on, both still with some tread on the tyres. I think right now is the time, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe mid-next year we get AJ and Tyson Fury, because Usyk's going to be tied up for the next 12 months. He's going to have Dubois or Opataya, or maybe it's going to be Joseph Parker if he wins. Who knows? But I strongly doubt he's going to fight AJ or Fury again. And what better fight than to fight each other? So, and I don't think AJ needs a Dubois rematch. I don't think the result changes. I don't think Fury is interested in fighting any of those guys either. That fight makes all the sense in the world. And as I said, I think it makes 2 or 3 times even more than Usyk versus anyone. So that's why it makes sense. You sort of agree there. Fury only beat an old Klitschko, who many consider the best of a weak bunch, and Wilder, who was a one-trick pony. He never fought AJ, Parker, Zhang, or Pulev. Again, Usyk resume way better. Yeah, no doubt Usyk's resume is way better. Just as a side note, I think he would beat Parker. I think he would beat Zhang, and I think he would beat Pulev. I think he'd beat all of them. AJ is the one that's asterisk. AJ matches up, I would think, very well against Fury. So that's, again, why it makes a lot of sense. All right. We'll get one from Damien there. Well, the deal is done with DAZN. Yes, they've purchased Foxtel and Telstra's part. I was very excited for this, but after yesterday's crap streaming issues, I don't know. As I said, Damien, let's just wait and see how they fix it. Again, it's not streaming. It is by satellite. I think we'll be okay, mate. Last one from Big J regarding the heavyweights. Moses Otama would be a good fight for Huni. Oh, okay. This is, again, these are always mixed up. So I think Andrew's already had his say on this, but I'll go through it. Good chance for Huni to prove himself a contender or get exposed as just another pretender. I rate him very low and think Moses will KO him easily. Yeah, long way to go to see whether Huni's got what it takes, Big J. He's only a young guy. He's only relatively inexperienced as far as a pro fighter goes. I'm thinking we're not going to judge Huni for at least another 12 to 18 months before he fights one of those semi-top liners. He might be a couple of years away from actually jumping right into the deep end. But the jury's out. I just think Justice Huni's got all the ability in the world. The obvious questions are about his power, but he's big enough. He's a big man. I think he weighed around 246, 248 or whatever for his last fight. He's a big guy. The power, I know, is an issue, but I've said it before. Usyk didn't have or doesn't have much or as much power as a lot of other heavyweights. Vander Holyfield coming up didn't have a lot of power either. Was able to get through the best heavyweights in the world as a smaller guy, just by his boxing IQ and just a bit of grit and a bit of heart. And that's for Huni to prove. And look, Jai Patai is going to have to go through the same thing. I think Jai Patai is naturally more gifted than Justice Huni. But look, until they fight one of those guys, I suppose we won't know, will we? Trevor, I believe yesterday's result was the right one. Usyk has no more to prove. A great champion and a credit to boxing, but a bout against Jai Patai would be one not to miss. Oh, it would be a great fight, Trevor. I'm with you, though. I mean, Alexander Usyk, really, what has he got to prove? He could retire tomorrow and just, I don't think he will, of course, but he could. 5 wins over the other best 3 heavyweights in the world at the moment in Fury, Joshua, and Dubois. 5-0. And he stopped Dubois. So, again, I'm with you there. No more to prove. Olympic champion, 2-time undisputed champion, 2 divisions. What a legend. He's going to go down as one of the all-time greats. And just, I mean, there's no words you can describe Usyk to give him more compliments than he's already getting. And you're right there, mate. Just an absolute credit to boxing. Glenn, how are you, Glenn? Fury won 4 rounds, maybe 5 at a stretch. Well, I gave him 5, Glenn, but I was being pretty generous. I just thought, and again, I said this in my review, I just think it was just round after round after round. And Tyson Fury, I think he came out strong, expecting maybe to muscle those first 3 or 4 rounds, and it just didn't happen. I thought he lost 3 of the first 4. And then Usyk started to really pick it up through the stretch, and Tyson Fury just didn't have much left in the last 4 rounds, and he was really struggling to pop the jab. Fury kept upping the pace all the time. Great strategy by Alexander Usyk. Set the pace really quick from the word go. Don't stand in front of Tyson Fury so that he leans on you and maybe connects. But again, Tyson Fury is not a big puncher at all, so I don't think he would have been too concerned about that. I think he just would have been concerned about the weight. And he negated that by being in and out, moving left, moving right, but having a really high work rate. Tyson Fury threw 2, then Alexander Usyk threw 3. That was his game plan. And then he upped when Tyson Fury had really expended that first win and was looking for his second win. Well, Alexander Usyk upped the pace again and really got him out of his comfort zone. And I thought finished the fight really strong. And I know there's a little bit of uproar from some of the people that thought it was a lot closer than what we maybe had it, saying that Tyson Fury, they didn't give him any of the last 5 or 6 rounds. I struggled. I think I gave him 1, and again, I was being very generous. So I just think Alexander Usyk won the fight clearly. 2, if not 3 points, I thought. So Glenn says Moses murders Huni. Okay. All right, BJ. All I want for Christmas is for the chump to sign the contract so I can give him a good hiding. Well, get on to him, BJ. We'll see. David Griffiths, how are you, David? Otoma is a monster, I should say. I always get in trouble for saying monster. It's monster. 19 years of age. That is correct. Going to get stronger, fitter, smarter, wiser, maybe unstoppable for a decade. Well, David, I sort of agree. Let's not get too excited. You've said it yourself. He's 19. Yes, he looks like a wrecking ball at the moment, but let's face it, hasn't fought anybody. He's got all the potential in the world. He can hit like a Mack truck. Okay, but let's just wait and see what he's like when he gets in with a guy that can move and box and not necessarily punch, although that would help to stop the freight train that is Otoma, but someone that's going to not stand in front, that's going to be pretty much like a standing target like Dempsey was. He got caught cold. I want to just say, I got no doubt that I'm with you. I think he can get the job done, but let's wait and see. There's some pretty good heavyweights out there at the moment that can put a few together, and a KG, good IQ, all that sort of stuff, and not going to just be open to those big left hands. So, look, on the surface, he looks the goods, but I just want to wait until I see him against a legitimate heavyweight contender. And at 19, there's no rush. He's going to be a star. Make no mistake about it. But, yeah, let's just wait and see. I agree. His potential is frightening. He was 249, wasn't he? Good question, Glenn. I might just have a quick look as we go there. I don't think he looked that big, did he? I'm assuming you're talking about Moses Otoma here. So let's have a look. All right, so he's moved to 11-0. It looks like it says he's 20-0 as an amateur too, so never lost. All right, so yeah, yesterday he was 249. The fight before that he was 239. The same before that, then 241. So he looks like he ranges anywhere between sort of 239 to 249. So he's a big guy, and obviously with that power behind him, I don't think the likes of Fury and AJ and those types of guys are going to go anywhere near someone like Otoma, because as they age and they become a lot less mobile and they get open to those punches, they don't need the smoke, as they say. So I don't think that's going to happen. But look, there's some really good heavyweights out there for him to fight. Let's see what he's got. Cal, how you going there? Cal Hartman, Merry Christmas to you and your missus. I think that's, you and yours. Yep, and thank you for all your shows. Can't wait for more. Thanks very much, Cal. I really appreciate that. And I'm just sort of throwing up what I'm going to do for next year, Cal. Again, I'll be doing the year in review next week before New Year's Eve, Monday, Tuesday, whatever it might be. We'll be bringing back the dream fights, and just every week I'll be doing a special, whether it's a live one or just a video, whatever. But I've got a lot of content that I want to do. It's been pretty difficult the last sort of 6 to 7 months because I've had a lot going on outside of this with my business and everything else. So I haven't had a chance to do as much content as I would like. But if you go back over the catalogue over the last, 3.5 years, I think it's been since I started this channel, we've done classic fights, we've done the dream fights, we've done different specials, we've done all sorts of things. The ratings, of course. And that's what I want to get back to. I really want to keep the content coming, at least 2 sort of shows a week, plus the walking, boxing, and everything else. So if you've got any ideas for some stuff, let me know. And actually, one thing I am going to do next year, what I'm going to do is pick a fighter from the past. And let's just say I'm just going to pick someone. George Foreman. I'm just picking George Foreman. And it'll be a bit of a in profile. It'll be something called something like that. In profile, it'll be George Foreman. Bit of a profile of his career, or a recap of his career, and then we might match him with 5 other greats from different eras that he'd never fought, of course, and just see how, maybe it could even be more, might even do 10, I don't know, depends how many there are, and just a quick thing, just to see how we would go and the quick results, and that's where I'll do it live, because I need your feedback, of course. Go through 10 opponents, other heavyweights that he never fought, and just get some predictions, just things like that. As much interaction with you guys as possible is what I'm after, so keep or stay tuned for that, and we'll see how we go. And again, if you've got any suggestions, let me know. And Merry Christmas to you as well. Thank you, Cal. Hanoi, Tripper, does Parker get the Usyk fight if he beats the English dude? Yes, he will, 100%. Hanoi, if Parker beats Dubois, he will be the next one for Alexander Usyk, no doubt. Can you imagine, though, if Dubois does beat Parker and Usyk beats Dubois a second time, it'll be 2 wins over all those 3 heavyweights. Just crazy. I actually wouldn't mind seeing him fight Parker. I think Usyk wins that fight. I'm just trying to think out of all their heavyweights, apart from the obvious one in Dubois, who I'd like to see Usyk fight. It's an interesting one. I'm just trying to think who else is there. It's probably no one. This is why it's a tough one to see whether he's going to hang around or not, whether he can keep motivated. If he's serious about going down the cruiserweight, for me, it's Jai Pataya. That's the fight. That's the fight I would like to see over Dubois and Parker and everyone. A Zhang fight would be entertaining, but I think he's just way too fast for Zhilei Zhang. Let us know, guys. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, if I'm being honest. Glenn says, I'm thinking Dubois probably has a rematch clause. Anyone know? I doubt it, Glenn. I would think that Usyk holds all the cards in that scenario. I don't think there would have been a rematch clause for the first fight. Again, Usyk's the champion. And for this fight, Usyk is the A side by a mile. So I don't think there'll be a rematch clause, Glenn. I think Usyk probably wouldn't take the fight if that was the case. I mean, if he beats Dubois for a second time, surely there can't be a third fight. So, yeah, I doubt it. Shadow Boxer, how are you there, mate? Usyk has entered my personal top 25 all-time greats. Yep, top 25. He's that good. Yep. No, it's hard to argue, Shadow Boxer. I'd probably have to have a good think about it. I mean, so many great fighters. I mean, I can't even begin to reel them off. But yeah, look, he's definitely got to be in the conversation. He's definitely top 10 heavyweights of all time. I would put him. Look, just quickly off the cuff, I would have, in no particular order, by the way, there's Ali, Joe Louis, Larry Holmes, Lennox Lewis maybe, I'm just trying to think. I'm silly trying to even bring it. Joe Fraser, Vander Holyfield, these types of guys. I'm not trying to deliberately forget people, but I've just rattled off 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. But I think he's definitely top 10. He could even be top 5. And maybe Alexander Usyk is one of those guys we might do in profile. We'll go through his record and everyone he's beaten as a pro now, and we'll put him up against the top 10 heavyweights of all time. I did do a video, actually, I think, a few months back, maybe when he beat Fury the first time, is where does Alexander Usyk rank in history? So maybe have a look at that if you haven't seen it. But we might do that. We might do a profile of Alexander and top 10 best heavyweights, arguably the best heavyweights of all time, and just see how we would have went. We'll do a poll and do our picks. But I'm not going to argue with that at all, Shadow Boxer. That is a good call. Andrew, Fury 2 to 3 years over the hill. I would have said he could have beat Usyk a couple of years ago, but that big frame of his is working against him. Yeah, I think in hindsight, Andrew, that was a bad decision to come in so heavy. Not that it would have made a lot of difference, if I'm being honest. I think that no matter what he weighed, I think Alexander Usyk would have beaten him. I just think, and again, I said it this morning, I think that Alexander Usyk would beat Fury 5 times out of 5. He'd beat Joshua 5 times out of 5, and I think he'd beat Dubois 5 times out of 5. He's just that type of guy. He's just a winner. And I've said in the past, I don't know how he does it. I don't think he's a big puncher. He's a good boxer, but not a great boxer. He's small. I mean, he's just one of those guys that just finds a way to win. He's just one of those fighters, and that's why I respect him so much. Ability-wise, and there's been plenty of other fighters that surpass him, but they've all lost these type of fights. He hasn't lost anything. So, he's just one of those guys. So, Wilder took a lot out of Fury. Yeah, maybe Hanoi, but is that another... Oh, hang on. We've got a super chat from Damien. Hang on. I'll go down. Where are you, Damien? There we are. There. I'll bring you up. I'll get back to that question, by the way. Oh, thank you very much, Damien. $30.99. Thank you very much, mate. That is very much appreciated. That might get me a loaf of bread and a carton of milk at the supermarket these days. Have you seen the prices out there? My wife went shopping today for Christmas. Holy shit. I don't know how people do it fair income, but, mate, no, all jokes aside, thank you very much, Damien. Raptor came across your channel this year. You're an absolute legend. Oh, thank you, mate. Merry Christmas to you and your amazing family. Thanks for the streams and can't wait to see what you do next year. No, thank you very much, Damien. Again, very, very much appreciated, mate, and hope you have a great Christmas too. All right, I'll go back to, where was it? So the Wilder. Wilder took a lot out of Fury. Yeah, but I was just going to say, Hanoi, is that a good thing or a bad thing that the fact that Deontay Wilder, who's been made to look awfully bad or ordinary against Joseph Parker and Zhilei Zhang, and I know the same argument could be made of him, that Fury took a lot out of him, but the fact that Fury struggled so badly with Deontay Wilder in 3 fights, I know he stopped him twice, did struggle with him. As the fights went on, it did get a little bit easier, but, those first couple of fights, they were just epics. And I know you're right, did take a lot out of Fury, but again, does that say more about Tyson Fury? I don't know. Don't know. I suppose we will never know, but you're right. Maybe that was the case, but I just think Alexander Usyk would beat any version of Tyson Fury. Maybe the one that beat Klitschko, what was that, 9 years ago? Maybe. But, yeah, I just think, as I say, styles make fights, and I just think he would struggle consistently with Usyk there, mate. Glenn says, hard to argue, greatest cruiserweight and undisputed champion, 2 weights makes a good case. Yep, I agree. Fury took a lot out of Fury. Yes, he did. He had a pretty rough few years, did Tyson Fury. Maybe the personal issues that he had, the weight fluctuations that he's had over the years, inactivity, who knows? But I think at the end of the day, you've got a very consistent champion in Alexander Usyk who leaves no stone unturned as far as his preparation, always active. I just think that's the case against Fury, who's been very up and down over the last probably 10 years. So, but you're right with that comment there, Glenn. Fury did take a lot out of Fury. All right, Cal. Big R sitting here listening with my Down syndrome uncle who's 74 years old. Please, can you give a big Merry Christmas shout out to him? His name is Mr. Bob. Cheers, mate. Bob Dylan, thank you. Well, no dramas at all, Cal. Bob, how are you there, mate? Thank you very much for tuning in to the show. I hope you have a fantastic Christmas and Happy New Year, all that sort of stuff, and really appreciate you and Cal tuning in to watch the show. So all the best to you, Bob, and I hope you keep tuning in, mate. All the best. All right, we'll move on. Bill, Australia needs a Zarafa Tim fight, and no, not little brother. Tim versus Zarafa. Tim, we know Michael's huge risk, but get it on. Do we need it, Bill? Does Australia need it? I don't know. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I probably agree that Australia needs a big fight. It's been a tough year. We've had a few highs, but we've had a lot of lows. Maybe we need it. But the big question, Bill, is does Tim Tszyu need it? Zarafa needs it because there's not much else for him apart from Tim. But I don't know, mate. Look, it would be good for Australian boxing. Maybe, who knows, next year we could get Tim versus Michael Zarafa. We could get Liam Paro versus George Kambosos. Here's a fight I'd like to see that doesn't get spoken about too much, and I know they're sort of buddies. Sam Goodman versus Jason Maloney. There's an all-Aussie fight I'd like to see. Maybe we need an episode on all Aussie fights we'd like to see. I'd like to see Nikita versus Brock. I don't necessarily want to see Nikita versus Michael. I don't think that's the fight that everyone's after. I think if it's going to be Tszyu, it's got to be Tim. But there's 4 there. So there's plenty of big fights out there in Australia next year. But I'm with you. I'm not too stressed about the Zarafa-Tim fight, Bill. But if you want it and Australia wants it, then bring it on. And the more big fights we have, the better. What do you think they charge the pay-per-view for that, Bill? I'm thinking about $90 to $100. Just the early guess. Because they know we'll pay it. They know we'll pay it. Thanks for watching too, Bill. Hey, Bill, I got to ask the question. Did you see the Tassie Brown video? I'm sure you did. I'm not hanging shit on Tassie. I know you're mates with him. I am too. And he made light of it as well. He's got it all over his social medias as well. If you haven't seen it, check it out. You'll know the one I'm talking about when he steps up on stage. But Bill, I think he'll be probably back tomorrow, Tassie. I'm sure he'll give me a call. But it was pretty funny. But it was good to see that he took the piss out of himself. All right, Hanoi, Australia, what's that there? Otama is on fire now, but doesn't have the amateur record behind him. Do you think that will catch up to him eventually? Yeah, that's why I think at 19, Hanoi, why rush? I mean, technically you could have 4 or 5 years of just fighting 3 times a year and getting up to, 30 wins or whatever it might be, or 25 wins, whatever it works out to. But I don't think that's the case. I think they're going to do what they did with Mike Tyson and just keep him active, keep him busy, and just keep steamrolling these fighters. I think they're just going to have trouble finding opponents for him. I think it's good that he's hooked up with Turki El Sheikh because he's going to pay whatever it takes to get opponents in the ring. But after what he did to Dempsey McKean yesterday, geez, they're a game man getting in the ring with him, aren't you? But again, I just want to see him in with someone that has got some good skills, some experience, a bit of weight behind them, and experience, IQ, all that sort of stuff, and just see what he's got. But he's got plenty of time. 19 years of age, if you can believe that. And in case anyone asks, no, I don't think he's as good as Mike Tyson at the same age. You go back and watch Mike Tyson at 19 years of age. Not only was he just bowling people over, it was the way he was doing it. The bobbing and weaving and those big uppercuts and hooks and everything like that. I think Otama's a little bit more one-dimensional than what Mike was. Mike was so dimensional. 3, 4-dimensional. In, out, just coming up with those big bombs that they didn't even see coming. Otama, I think, is more that just wait, and boom, that's the sort of fighter that he is. So, but who cares? Who cares if he's as good as Mike Tyson at the same age? He's going to cause some issues to a lot of fighters out there. But I just don't think there's a hurry, especially, as you said there, with the lack of amateur fights behind him. What's that? Yes, Bill Black on this pod, my mate Lynden against it. What's that there? Andrew, have I missed something there? Sorry. Enlighten me there, mate. Might have missed a comment. Sorry about that. Tommy B, how are you there, mate? Good to see Tassie will never be denied the first question in the press conference of the biggest fights in the world. Yes. If you didn't see it, Tassie Brown was asking the questions at the press conference yesterday. Tyson Fury, I think he actually, am I right did I hear that he actually told everyone to shut up? Only Tassie could do that, fair dinkum, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's living his dream over there. He's mixing it with all the big names. He's asking Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk questions. He's interviewing all the big guys over there, so good on him. Look, classic example of you got to take yourself out of your comfort zone, put yourself into the zone or the mix, whatever it might be, and anything is possible. I've seen it firsthand, and no, I'm not as out there as what Tassie does. I'm very content just to document my travels, put my daily vlogs up, and just view from afar. That's not the way Tassie rolls. He's in the mix. If you're around, he wants to meet you and interview you, shake your hand, all that sort of stuff. That's just him. So, look, that's what happens when you have a crack, I suppose, Tommy. But that not just the first question though, the stage one when he fell off the stage. That's it's ironic that that's the video that he took over there. He did so many. That's the one that went the most viral. But I can't wait to talk to him about it and hear his side of the story. All I could think about, Tommy, was it's in the Office episode when he falls in the pond with the fish, Michael, on The Office. That's all I can think about. So, Michael Scott when he falls in the Japanese fish pond or whatever it was. Yeah, that's all I could think of when it happened. But the way he got up, had a quick look to see whether anyone saw it. Of course they saw it. Everyone was, that's the Ring magazine, whatever it was. He's on the stage and got up, brushed himself off, but he still got the shape up. So good on him. All right, Glenn. I really don't get people getting all excited about Tim versus Zarafa. Zarafa. Michael is a clown and not particularly good. Why does Tim need to fight him? I think the only reason he needs to fight him at the moment, Glenn, is purely and solely that he almost needs. I won't say needs the fight. It's just the fight that maybe makes sense for him now if he wants a biggish fight. It's a tough. Only Tim can explain this and his manager, by the way. But why does Tim need to fight him? He probably doesn't on one side of the coin, but he also probably does on the other side of the coin, if that makes sense. If it's purely a money fight, then of course Michael Zarafa makes sense. But if he's after the right fight to get him back in the mix and get him back on the world scene, then I would just bypass Michael and just go back to the States. Maybe bring a journeyman over here to fight. Tim's going to sell a shitload of pay-per-views no matter who he fights. He's going to make a lot of money no matter who he fights. And I know we've spoken about this at length over the last few weeks, but if it's purely a here and now big money fight, then Michael Zarafa is it. But if he's looking long-term, he would look past Michael and go to the international scene. Again, maybe bring a journeyman over and then maybe look to recharge his career, get back amongst it, and he'll make that money back that he misses out by not fighting Michael. So plenty of big decisions to be made by his management. Andrew, Tassie holding the flag. Yeah, well, I think he did it too. What was the press conference he was in last year? I think it was, or the year before. One of the Jake Paul press conferences. And I think he told people to keep it down there as well. But again, that's Tassie Brown. What's that funny Usyk team thought he was Irish? I didn't really know what to make of Tassie, did they, the Usyk team? I think Tyson Fury knew all about it. He is like, he's that mad Aussie. Usyk's team will look at him like, who the hell is this guy? But, hey, he still got the interview, didn't he? So, what's that, Glenn? What's that? Zarafa beat by same caliber of fighters. Okay, I'll let you guys discuss that. I was talking about, Bill, sorry, it was Bill Hack. I think you wrote Bill Black before. Sorry, Andrew, I mixed that up. Zarafa iced by an ancient Lara. Tim showed a lot more heart against an elite fighter, probably in his prime. Yeah, Glenn, look, I'm just, again, being honest, I just think I don't think it's a difficult fight for Tim, even with regards to what happened in his last fight. I still think Tim wins the fight very comfortably. I really do. As long as his head's right. But that's why I don't agree that he should fight him next. Tim needs at least one more tune-up before fighting even Michael Zarafa. Now, I think pre his loss, I think it's an easy night's work for I don't want to disrespect Michael too much, but I'm just being honest. I think before the last fight with Murtazaliev, I think Michael was an easy pickings for Tim. I really do. But now it's the mindset from Tim that gives Michael a massive chance to beat Tim if they fought next. And that's why I think Tim, if I was in his corner, his management team, I would be saying, I don't care how much money is at stake with the Michael Zarafa fight. I don't care how much Australia wants it. It's not the right fight for us here and now. We need a fight in March or April next year against a journeyman, a light punching journeyman, by the way. And then if the Zarafa fight's still there, if he's still around, which I think he would be, I think he'll get a fight before then as well. I think No Limit will want to get him one as well. Get a win under his belt, and then maybe fight later next year. So that's probably the only way I think the fight happens. But I would like to see Michael also sort of earn the fight as well. And when you might say, well, why does he have to earn it? Tim's lost his last 2 fights, but Tim is still the A side by a long, long way. And I can understand why Tim would be saying, well, I need more than a 1-round injury win over Tommy Brown. Because you're right, Glenn, he did get iced by Lara. So that's what I'd be looking at. If I was Tim's team, I'd be saying, Michael, get a win in March or April next year. I'll do the same, maybe on the same card, which would be massive, a massive pay-per-view that would be, wouldn't it, to have Tim and Michael on the same card with the view of matching them up later in the year. And that probably would make sense. And then Tim reloads for 2026 to go back to the world stage if that's the case. But it also gives Michael Zarafa a chance to then also have one more crack at it as well. But lots of moving parts there, Glenn. G'day, Peter. How are you there, mate? All right, Andrew, let's have a poll. Who wants to see Tim KO the Z-Man? Well, put it in the chat. I'll quickly move through them because I'm probably way behind at the moment. Tommy, I think that Tim and Mick is by far the biggest domestic fight, means money for No Limit and a path back to world level for the winner. Means it makes sense. Mick hasn't been at 154 since 2019. No, that's a very, very good question, though, Tommy, at the end there, or comment or observation. That this fight, I would think, would be at 154. Now, who knows? Maybe there's a catch weight or whatever it might be, but I've got a feeling that Tim's going to say, if Michael wants the fight, it comes down to 154. No catch weights, no compromise, no meeting halfway, nothing at all. You want the fight, you meet me at 154. That's what I think Tim would do for starters. And you're right, he hasn't been there since 2019. Is it the biggest domestic fight as far as earnings go? Yes, it is, Tommy. But is it the biggest fight overall, domestic fight? If I had them all together, Tommy, I would rather say, I know it's not the biggest fight by a mile. I'd rather see Nikita versus Brock. I'd rather see Liam versus George Kambosos. I'm just not big into the Tim Tszyu versus Michael Zarafa. I'm just not. I don't know why. I understand why people want to watch it or see it. I get it. But for me, it's 3 or 4 down the list for me. That's just my opinion. I think there's some really good domestic fights out there. I'd love to see Michael Zarafa fight Matteo Tapia. That's a good domestic fight. As I said, Nikita versus Brock, Liam versus George. Some good fights at Jason Maloney versus Sam Goodman. Plenty of good fights out there. Carl, Dempsey's no sharpshooter and terrible boxing IQ. Yeah, well, he found out the hard way, you say, didn't he, Carl? David, Tim versus Zarafa would be good for Australian boxing. We must promote the sport at every opportunity. Yeah, well, that's probably a good view there, David, that it would be massive in Australia. The mainstream media would be all over it. They're all over Tim anyway, and they love to put Michael Zarafa stories on their socials because he draws a crowd. And that's why I think he needs to, this is Michael Zarafa, needs to really embrace it a lot more. He's going to be the villain. He could rescue a cat from a tree or an old lady crossing the road, whatever. People are still going to dislike him. It's just a fact. The fact of life that Michael needs to get his head around. Stop getting all bent out of shape because people say bad things about you. Actually embrace it and go with it. Because if that's the case, he's going to make a lot of money if that fight comes about. He almost needs to do what Anthony Mundine did against Danny Green and really embrace the villain. Because no matter what happens, Tim is going to be the A side. Tim is going to be the good guy. Tim is going to be the cowboy with the white hat, and Michael Zarafa is going to be the cowboy with the black hat. That is just fact, and that is life. So he needs to embrace it, and if he continues, I think he's doing a pretty good job at the moment, by the way. He's been pretty vocal about laying the boots into Tim, and I'll welcome it. I don't really agree and like a lot of the things he's saying, but I don't blame him for trying to do it because Tim is his last bastion. He is his last chance. And if Tim doesn't fight Michael, I think he just fades away over the next 2 or 3 years, and that will be it. So I get it. Yeah, as far as that comment there goes, David, you're right. Promoting the sport at every opportunity, it would be the biggest fight since Mundine Green, wouldn't it? We've got another super chat. Thanks, Damien. You must have got some a good Christmas bonus, did you? You're giving it all to me. I appreciate it, mate. Also, shout out to everyone in the chat and have a fantastic Christmas. This is an awesome community. And also shout out to Cal's uncle, Mr. Bob. Good stuff, Damien. Thanks, mate. I'll go back along the line, see if we can get back on track as far as the comments go. Really appreciate all the chat there, guys. It means a lot. It makes it worthwhile doing the show when it's appreciated. I know it's not the biggest channel, but it is a really good community, and we don't put up with any shit and idiots and trolls. It's just a really good community to have your say, and we disagree, and that's great, but at least we do it respectfully. All right, Andrew says, yes, makes money, it makes sense, 100%. Glenn says, so Tim at 160, what's the point? Well, yeah, I think it all just comes down to what Tim wants to do, Glenn. If he wants to move up to 160, but again, if he can make 154, there's no way he's going to let Michael Zarafa off the hook and give him just a little more percentage chance to win. He's going to say it's 154 or nothing, and Michael's going to have to do it. I think Michael could do it. I'm pretty sure he makes, makes 160 pretty well. So what is it? It's not even 3 kilos, like 2.5 kilos. I think he could do it. Peter, Opatai would be way too good for Parker, and I think Parker is staying in the good books with him. I think so too, Peter. I think Opatai wins that fight. I won't say comfortably, but and Parker's a great fighter, a very good fighter. We throw great around far too often, don't we? But no, Parker is a very, very good fighter. But I'm with you. I think Peter. Sorry, I'm looking at your name there. Sorry, Peter. Opatai would have the tools to get the job over Joseph Parker. I'd like to see Jai maybe have a couple of fights at heavyweight first and then go for someone like Parker. Be good all sort of Aussie versus New Zealand, although we're getting that next month, aren't we, with Jai and David Nyika. So, yeah, maybe down the track. Tommy, I'm more saying that from Tim's point of view, it could be a risk for Mick cutting down to that weight. I think it's a bad fight for Tim off a loss, but he has the weight going for him. Yeah, well, again, his team will make the call, Tommy, but they've got some big decisions to make. Do they take the big money fight next while it's there, or look at the big picture and say we don't need that at this time and let's just wait until maybe later next year or even the start of 2026? Bill says no one can doubt Tim's heart. Saudi's team let that bashing go on. Bad for the fighter and sport in every way. Just my opinion. Yeah, well, that's fair enough, Bill. It's your opinion. I do agree they let the fight go too long. I would have thought in between rounds of the Murtazalia fight, they would have seen he was hurt. He'd been dropped 2 times, I think. 2 times. He'd been dropped in the second round. I would have thought they would have said to Tim, you got to show us something, mate. If you get in trouble again, we're going to stop it. And when he got dropped the first time in the third round, the towel should have came in right there and then. They let him go on. He copped a lot more punishment. And I think they were very late in getting the towel in there. So was a referee, by the way. Let's just hope it doesn't have a detrimental effect for Tim going forward. That's the fascinating thing for me. More so, I think ability-wise, we all know he's talented. He did obviously just get caught against Murtazalia. But my biggest thing is, how is it going to affect him mentally? That is the big question for me. Fascinating stuff. A breakaway. How are you there? A breakaway. Usyk versus Jai. Next, please. Right time for Jai with Usyk nearing 38 years of age. Yeah, well, makes sense. I've got a feeling breakaway, now that we've sort of been discussing it and Usyk openly saying that he's willing to go back down to cruiserweight, I've got a feeling that maybe we will see Usyk versus the winner of Dubois and Parker. And Jai will probably fight Zurdo, if he gets past Nyika, by the way. He'll fight Zurdo Ramirez. And I think that if Usyk gets past the winner of Dubois and Parker, he will go down and fight the winner of Jai versus Zurdo. That's, to me, would see he's 2025, and then who knows, that might be it for him. So it could be on the cards. Let's see. Peter, Usyk is a great fighter, but I think his opponents are not top 10 heavyweights of all time. So I'm waiting a little longer to claim him as a top 10. But how long do you wait, though, Peter? Now, again, it always seems I'm laying the boots into someone like Rocky Marciano, but who did he beat? Who did Rocky Marciano beat? He's widely regarded in the top 10 of all time. I don't want to get into a whole heavyweight all-time great sort of thing here, but who did Rocky Marciano beat? A very, very old and aging Joe Louis, way over the hill Archie Moore, way over the hill Izzard Charles, and a way over the hill Jersey Joe Walcott. Didn't beat anyone of note in the prime, and he's widely regarded in the top 10 of heavyweights. And I hate to bring it up, but even someone like a Jack Dempsey didn't beat anyone really of note. Really, when you think about it, I don't want to. Where's Andrew in the chat? There, he's going to be gunning for me after this. Sacrilege against Rocky Marciano and Jack Dempsey. I'm just stating the facts. Someone like Rocky Marciano never beat an in prime legacy fighter. He never did. And neither did Jack Dempsey. Beaten by Gene Tunney twice. I'm going over some really touchy ground here. Having a crack at Rocky Marciano and Jack Dempsey. I could have found some others, but I'm just stating the facts. So if we're going by that rationale, I think Usyk's resume is already twice as good as someone like a Rocky Marciano, probably even 3 times. Undisputed. Repeated wins over other very elite fighters of his era. The top 2 fighters of his era in Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. He's beat them both twice. That's Ali-esque, that is, when you think about it. So I'm just waiting for the comment. I know I'm way behind there, guys. I'm just going to wait till we get a little bit later. I'm sure they're coming. All right, Andrew. Usyk, top 15 heavyweights of all time, but not top 10. Well, there you go. I've already preempted what's coming, I think, because that comment was about 10 minutes ago, I think. Let's see. All right. Peter, a block of chocolate went from $4 this time last year to $7 today. They're taking the piss. Geez, that's a lot of money, isn't it? Yeah, my wife, Tara, she actually rang me. She was actually a little bit upset about it, thinking, oh, my God, I've just spent all this money on groceries. I was like, well, okay, well, you know, because you got to remember you're getting the boxes of chocolates for people. You're getting the extra stuff for the Christmas dinner, all that sort of stuff. It adds up. But again, I don't know how people do it. I don't blame the supermarkets because they're getting screwed by the suppliers as well. All they do is get their goods and put their margin on top of it. So don't sort of blame the supermarket. Well, maybe blame Woolworths and Coles, the greedy bastards. But the IGAs and those type of ones, I think they try their best, and the Food Works, they try their best to keep prices low. But they don't get anywhere near the prices that Woolworths and Coles do. And that's another, you know, we talk about monopolies and stuff, having those two running the show, or duopoly. No wonder prices are so high and they just screw the poor old suppliers. Anyway, but yeah, that is crazy. You pay $7 for a block of chocolate. Whew, that is amazing. Janito, or is it Yanito Garcia? Dempsey McKean got smoked. Aussie boxers losing 1 by 1. Well, have you say, mate. I'm not going to, well, I can't argue with you there. If you want to get on here and have a bit of a crack, well, go for it. We can't really argue, but I think you're underselling the Aussies, mate. We've had a pretty good year. Not sure what country you're from, but let's see how your countrymen went. So I think we had 19 or 20 fights featuring Aussie fighters this year, mate. I think we're doing okay. But if you want to get on there and have your say, then good luck to you. What's it got? Another comment there. The only Aussie fighter I like is Joe Patai and he's full Samoan. Okay, what's cool. That's whatever you want there. Glenn. Thanks, mate. Great channel. Build a great local community. Chat about boxing. Merry Christmas to you and your family, and thanks for a great year. No worries at all, Glenn. Thank you very much, mate. Same to you. Andrew, chocolates is crazy. They put on special. It's $2 more than last week. Oh, geez, they're the masters at that, aren't they? On special, and if you look under the tag, it's either the same price or more expensive. It's just nuts. Don't get me started on Woolworths and Coles, by the way. Yeah. All right. Damien, his passport and birth certificate says something different to Janito. What was that in? Oh, yeah, as far as full Samoan. Yes, good call, Janito. He's an Aussie, mate. Born and bred in Australia. He might have Samoan heritage, but no different to nearly every other fighter around the world. They've got some sort of heritage, haven't they? And Jai is a Samoan heritage, but he's Aussie born and bred, mate, and proudly Australian. I know he obviously embraces his heritage, but he's an Aussie, mate. Don't worry about that. Breakaway. McKean was out of the ring for a year and a half. Justice is our best heavyweight, more in his arsenal than kickboxer McKean. Oh, look, 100% agree, Breakaway. I think Justice Honey is our, I've said that for probably the last year or two. Justice Honey is our best heavyweight by a mile, in my opinion. And maybe that's the only fight for Dempsey McKean is to come back and fight Justice Honey, but I think the promotional thing might make it hard. Peter, Jason Maloney beats Goodman every day of the week. Amen, mate. Couldn't have said it better myself. Jason, I think, beats Sam Goodman, no problem. Jai Patai may be Australian citizen, but he's not just an Australian citizen, Janito. He is an Australian. Born and bred, mate. His heritage will always be Samoan. Well, big deal. I know a lot of Australians that have Irish or Italian or Greek, Asian, whatever. Geez, half of America have got heritage from overseas. Not so sure your point there, mate, but he's an Aussie through and through, mate. So, all right. Bill says, great for Aussie boxing. My opinion in Oz, 50-50 fight. But if not Tim wins, Michael hates fighting abroad. Yeah, he hasn't had much success fighting overseas, has he, Bill? I'm not sure he's had a win yet overseas, but yeah, we'll see next year, mate. What happens with Tim versus Zarafa? Carlo Capetta. Fury had no solution to the continual Usyk activity, economic punching with variety, 300-plus amateur fights, shows in his performances, undisputed at the two heaviest divisions. Merry Christmas. Thanks, Carlo. Excuse me, really appreciate that, mate. Merry Christmas to you as well. And very, very good points there, mate. Usyk, he's been active since he started his career. 350, I think, amateur fights into the pros. Very, very active in the pros as well, and it just shows. Always testing himself, fought on the road a lot as well. Again, I can't hand out enough compliments for Alexander Usyk. Just a great, great fighter and great champion. And a great guy by the looks of things as well. Yeah, thanks, Damien. You echoed what I said there. Sam Goodman. Okay, well, I'll let you in the chat there, Janino. You've obviously got a thing against Aussies, and you've come in here to let us know about it. That's fine. All right, Cal. Tim's got to get back overseas, but who's he fight? Keith Thurman. And thank you for the shout out to Bob. No worries at all, Cal. Yeah, Keith Thurman makes sense, Cal. He does make sense. I don't think he'll fight him overseas. I would think that Tim's next couple of fights will be in Australia. I think he's openly said himself he wants to get back to his roots, and I think he will fight in Australia for starters. I think for 2025, and it makes good sense. Maybe, look, he might fight 3 times. Look, I think he only got married over the weekend, so you'd think he's got to go on his honeymoon and get through Christmas and New Year. Who knows? He might have already been training. I don't know, but I wouldn't have thought he'll be looking to fight till March or April, and then probably have another fight in October, November next year. So I've got a feeling both of the fights he has next year will be in Australia. Keith Thurman might be one, might be Michael Zarafa later in the year. I don't know, but I just strongly doubt again that he fights Michael Zarafa next, if he fights him at all, because he's very close to his grandfather, and apparently he promised his grandfather he would never give Michael Zarafa an opportunity. So again, money talks, doesn't it? We'll see. But Keith Thurman, I wouldn't trust Keith though, Cal. He didn't make it to the line at the start of this year, and we haven't heard a peep from him since. What's that, 9 months ago, 8 months ago, whatever it has been. Have not heard a peep from him as far as getting another fight. I mean, he had the injury. Surely it hasn't taken that long to heal. And he's been out of the ring for, 2 years already. I would strongly doubt that happens. Look, you'd be a nervous wreck at No Limit, wouldn't you, if you got Keith Thurman booked in to fight Tim Tszyu, bringing him to Australia with all that's at stake? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't risk it. Plenty of other guys around that sort of vintage and experience I could bring over. There's some other names that the only good thing about Keith, he's not a big puncher, but there's plenty of other guys I could bring that would fit that bill. Peter says Dempsey got a massive hit to the back of the head with the first knockdown. Yeah, he did, Peter. If you watch it, he did get the punch to the back of the head. Look, it was totally accidental. It was just Otama threw the punch. Dempsey ducked down. It just got him on the back of the head. It would have been interesting if it was ruled a punch to the back of the head. I don't think Otama would have been disqualified, but maybe it could have been a contest. I don't know. But when you're the B-side, Peter, you don't get that luxury. I think if it had been the other way around, they would have went to the video replay. I reckon we would have had a no contest on our hands. But Dempsey McKean is the B-side, and that's just the way it rolls, or they roll. So, but it was a big hit to the back of the head, Peter. He really struggled to get his equilibrium back, and when you're fighting a puncher like Otama and, you're on Queer Street, there's only one way it's going to end, and that's a devastating knockout, which we got. Damien, I can't get over that video of Tassie taking the fall. He did it like a champion, though, didn't he, Damien? It was because it wasn't just a slip. He fell off the stage, and it looked like it was a fair old fall. And when you're not expecting it, that would have hurt. So he took it like a champ, got up, brushed himself off, and just said, right, got to get the picture, and then moved on. I reckon when he got back to the hotel room a bit later, Damien, I reckon he would have been a bit sore. I'll ask him when I talk to him. What's that, Bill? I'd pay $300 versus Tim versus Rafa. It really has to happen. We don't know where Tim's at that. Look, again, I don't think it happens next, Bill. I just call it a gut feel. Sort of got my manager's hat on. I don't think it happens next. I think Tim needs a fight first, and it makes all the sense in the world, again, to put them on the same show. It makes the fight even bigger. Do what they did with Mundine and Green. They put them on the same show. I think from memory, they booed Mundine out the ring. They were throwing things at him, but it really got the media's attention, and that fight was just massive. And I think it would be a real good way to really ignite things, to have Tim and Zarafa on the same card. Zarafa would undoubtedly be yapping and off at Tim. Tim's not the type of guy that really engages in that sort of stuff, so that's probably the one little thing we'd have to look at. But I think Michael would really make up for it. And if it does happen, it does make sense to do it on the same card, make the fight later next year even bigger. It would be massive, don't get me wrong. I think it would make huge amounts of money, but I still think there's other fights, domestic fights, that I would love to see more than Tim versus Michael. All right. Yeah, Damien, Tassie Brown is awesome. Don't tell him that, Damien. You'll get it. You'll give him a big head. What's that, Damien? Do it. I'll fight George Rose. All right, James. Right above where Tassie fell, there was a big sign saying "Watch your step." Is that right? I didn't make any. I didn't see that. Whoever put it up, whatever channel it was, did actually have the caption "Watch your step." I didn't actually see that. Well, there you go. Hey, they could have had a lawsuit on their hands when you think about it. If Tassie had broken his leg or something, or fractured his shoulder, or hit his head, not that it would have made much difference if he hit his head. Hope you're not watching, Tassie. Yeah, but they could have been in all sorts of drama. I'm not sure having a sign saying "Watch your step" would have been enough to save their skins. But yeah, it was funny. It really was. All right, Janito. We'll give you another comment here. All right, exactly my point. Aussies like to import boxers from different heritage. Yes. Kostazu, Russian, Cambosis, Greek. Well, it's a Cambosis, Greek. Okay, Joe Patai, Samoan. Name one fighter from Australia that's full Australian. I'm not even going to answer that, Janita. That's a stupid comment. But you're going to go through American heritage. As I said before, half, if not more, of their great fighters are from different ethnicities. So that's a ridiculous statement. Yeah, good point, Jamie. Tell me what is full Australian. Well, exactly. We're made up of, we are a nation made up from people from every nation on earth, aren't we? So is there any such thing as an Aussie? I don't know. We're just what makes us who we are. I don't know. I'm not going to keep on with this. So, Janito, if you want to talk about boxing, that's great, but get away from this what makes you an Australian thing. Well, what's that make an Englishman? I don't know. Whatever. Or Kiwi, whatever. Andrew, best Australian boxer, Jimmy Carruthers, Lionel Rose, Les Darcy, Young Griffo. All right, Andrew, well, I can't comment on Les Darcy or Young Griffo. We just didn't see him fight. We're going by records here. We're going by box rec records or things that have been passed down. Lionel Rose, Jimmy Carruthers, you forgot Johnny Famish on there, mate. Great fighters. We've seen enough of them to realise who they were and what they were, but I think it's almost impossible with Les Darcy and Young Griffo.
I mean, you throw in, I think, guys like Lester, Jeff Fennick, of course, Lester Ellis, Barry Michael, I mean, the list goes on. Oh, I like this. What do you think of the use of the AI judge? Is it the way to clean up some of these robberies? In theory, Carlo, yes. 100% is the way to clean up the robberies. But I've got to see more, mate. I've got to see more of this, because what I seen was it's got the boxes and it's got the outline and it's analysing all their movements and the punches and the velocity and the impact, all that sort of stuff. I like it. They almost got it right. Or it almost got it right. 8 rounds to 2 with 2 even. Now, the official judges had it 8 rounds to 4, which I think we all agreed with. So, really, it had two rounds. Instead of giving them to Fury, they had them even. So, it wasn't far off the mark. I like the concept of it, Carlo. As long as they can get it right, I really like it. But I don't know how it's supposed to work. But I suppose in this day and age with all this AI and or artificial intelligence, if you didn't know what that meant out there, guys and girls, I don't know. But in theory, great. Because I would love to say to all those judges out there, just take a seat. We've got you covered. I mean, computers and AI doing everything else these days. Not much use for humans anymore. But the one thing I like about AI, Carlo, is that it takes out the emotion or the perspective of who's the A side, who's the B side, who are we going to give it to if the round's close. Who do we give it to? Like, we're not just, because a lot of these judges, I've said it before, they watch the A side. They get caught up in watching one fighter. It's just human nature. If you've got, say, not Mike Tyson, Manny Pacquiao fighting a no-name, you just tend to be watching Manny Pacquiao because it's Manny Pacquiao, and you tend to, same as Canelo Alvarez and all the greats, you tend to watch that fighter and you get a little bit sort of tunnel vision. Doesn't happen with the AI. So that's what I like about it. It doesn't have a thing about preferences. It doesn't have a thing about whether it likes a boxer versus a puncher. It likes the aggressor or likes the person on the move. It doesn't do any of that sort of stuff. It doesn't factor in who closes out the round in the last 10 seconds and does nothing for the other 2 minutes and 50 seconds. That's what I like about it. But I've got to see more of it, Carlo. But the idea of it all and the concept of it all, I love it. Let's see how it pans out. All right. Cal, let's go Jai and then maybe Usyk. Yep, for sure, mate. Let's see. That is a ridiculous comment, Janita. I'm not going to even put that up. Matzi. Usyk landed 179 at 42%. Fury 144 at 28%. No further questions, Your Honour. Well said, Matzi. Yep. You rest your case. All done and dusted. Robert. Usyk is a UK daddy. Yep. He just has that effect over. Oh, yeah, that's a good point, Robert. Fury English, Joshua English, Dubois English. Yep. There's that super chap there. Robert, Usyk exposed stiff robot AJ and Tyson's cocaine Fury. The greedy belly, didn't he? He certainly did. Mutzi, Wade Ryan versus Tim rematch. Mutzi, I like what you're saying, mate, but it ain't going to happen, mate. It ain't going to happen. There's no way, first of all, that Tim would like or would see Wade Ryan as a viable option. Excuse me there. And also, he's all wrong for him. He's already beaten him, of course, as you said, they were in the rematch, but all wrong as far as being awkward. And I know he's not a big puncher. That would be the main thing, but I don't think Tim would want a really, really awkward guy like Wade Ryan, who did put him down when the first time they fought. So I don't think he would want that fight, mate. But yeah, I don't mind the suggestion, but I doubt it. Cal, he said, that's your uncle? Yep. I said, ho, ho, ho. All good, Cal. No problems at all. All right, Janito. See you later. You can go. I've had enough of you. What's that? Clayton. Just finished dinner. Fave part of the... Is that the US? Is that what you're saying there, Clayton? Sorry, mate. Is that what you're saying? Just finished dinner? Yeah, well, that's all good, mate. Where you from, Clayton? Let us know. All right, DJ. Perfect time for Tim to go to 160. It's an easier division to get to a title fight than 154. 54 is stacked with Nikita working his way up to the 54 rankings. Yeah, well, first of all, Nikita has a long, long way to go, DJ, if you ask me, at 54. But your other point is very, very valid. If he's not really... Well, I don't think it's probably Tim's style to go up just because he doesn't want to fight the best at 154. I'm not sure that's the way he would look at it, but it's a good point. If he goes to 160, although Janabek's at 160, and after what I saw Murtazaliev do to Tim, I don't want to see Tim in with Janabek. He is an absolute savage, that guy. And I don't like Tim's chances against Janabek. Big puncher, big guy as well. I don't like that fight. But if he stays away from from Janabek, then maybe he's got some other options. I know, was it Ardemez is fighting Shiraz? Not a bad option for Tim. Lara could be a good option for him as well. I don't think there's any way that Lara does to Tim what he did to Michael. So maybe. But I would like to see Tim stay right away from Janabek, at least for the time being, because he's bad news. Big guy who can punch. Not the ideal opponent. Robert, now AJ can fight Fury. That's the biggest next fight for both men. 100%, mate. I agree. I was going to say, Andrew, I understand what you're saying there. All right, Mutty. Dubois getting in the ring was average. I reckon Parker will sort him. I didn't like it either, Mutty, but I don't think it was Dubois' choice. I think it was obviously preempted or pre-planned that he would get in the ring. He did look a little bit awkward, didn't he? And Usyk didn't really give him anything. He just, well, if they tell me to fight him, I'll fight him. They did cross paths a few times when Usyk was walking around the ring. I think he had the big saber, didn't he? The ancient saber that he was in the case. But Daniel, I think, looked very uncomfortable as well, Mutzi, and I just get a feeling it wasn't his choice to get in there. It would have been everyone saying, yep, you got to get in there. We've got to start the wheels turning for the next fight. So I'm with you too, by the way. I think Parker is a very, very good chance of beating Daniel Dubois. Wouldn't that throw a cat amongst the pigeons if Parker got the win? I'd love to see it, Mutzi. I hope he gets the win. I really hope he beats Dubois and we get Parker versus Usyk, because I think Parker deserves it. David says, I prefer Tim to fight at 160 internationally. Yeah, well, maybe that is on the cards, David. He did start his career at 160, but is he going to be big enough at 160? There's some pretty good big guys at that weight. And if he makes 154, no problems. I don't see the sense in going to 160 just to avoid the 154-pound fighters, especially when you've got Janabek sitting there at 160. Okay, Glenn. Parker absolutely murders Jai. Jai couldn't hurt him. Yeah, Parker's not a big puncher either, though, Glenn. I get what you're saying, but he's not a big puncher. Jai's, I think he's speed in and out, moving left, moving right. I think it'll be a good fight. I think it might still be a fraction early for Jai, but I think give Jai another couple of fights, he's capable of beating Parker. But I'm not sure we'll get the opportunity to see that fight, unless Parker suddenly beats Dubois and then beats Usyk and Jai comes up, because I think they've got a lot of respect for each other. Obviously, two Pacific Islander guys in heritage. Just ask Janito. They're not New Zealanders and they're not Australians. They're Samoan, even though I'm sure Parker would say that he's obviously a Kiwi/Samoan, where Jai is an Aussie/Samoan. So let's get away from all this talk about your heritage. We've all got something in us, haven't we? Anyway. Double G. I've only just arrived, so you might have already discussed Frank Warren post-fight. No, we haven't, Double G. Thanks for bringing that up. Rumour has it he's walking around the streets of Riyadh showing the locals scorecards. I don't know what he was doing, Double G. I mean, straight after the fight, I thought he won by 4 rounds. He said he didn't win. He was lucky to win 4 rounds, let alone win by 4 rounds. I just thought it was classless, Double G. I really did. Even if he thought that was the case, all he had to do was say, hey, look, congratulations to Usyk. I thought maybe Tyson might have done enough to win, but whatever. Good luck to Usyk. And whatever Tyson does, we'll back him. You know, just have a bit of class about you. Because I think, even though Eddie's had a fair bit to say after some of his fights, when he calms down a little bit, I think he actually is pretty generous to the opponent as time goes by. Frank Warren, I think it was unwarranted what he said. I think it was disrespectful to Alexander Usyk, especially straight after the fight. Alexander seems to have that effect on people, doesn't he? Remember the Anthony Joshua rematch where Anthony had a meltdown in the ring, and you can see Usyk looking at him thinking, geez, who is this guy? But he just tends to bring out that, because I just think they all get so frustrated that they can't beat him, and probably can't get their heads around the fact that this small guy is beating them consistently, or doubling up the wins against them. So, yeah, I didn't like it though, Double G. I didn't like the press conference either. Just didn't have a lot of class. Damien, I think Parker seriously beats Dubois. I think also I like Usyk versus Parker also. And shout out to Parker on his second newest YouTube video. I did see he's got his own YouTube page. That banana with peanut butter and honey is absolutely amazing. I didn't see that one, Damien, but I have had that myself. I used to get sandwiches with banana, peanut butter, and honey, and also pancakes with banana, peanut butter, and maple syrup. A1, mate. So, also with the pancakes, fluff. If you haven't ever seen it, it's a jar of marshmallow. It's like a spread, so it's like a jar of peanut butter or whatever it might be, or honey, and it's called fluff. You can get it through American shops, the people that stock American stuff. I haven't had any for a while, but I used to have it on my pancakes all the time. It is literally a jar of spreadable marshmallow. And what you do is you get your pancake, spread it like an inch thick with fluff, and fold it over so it's like a big sandwich, and put your maple syrup all over it, and it is awesome. But also, yeah, peanut butter and banana with maple syrup is good as well. I've actually been considering, and I've always wanted to do it, to have a breakfast place, just serving pancakes and that sort of. And I'm not talking about those flimsy little pancakes you get at a lot of cafes, and they'll charge you $20 for a couple of little pikelets with some fancy fruit and some decorations on it. I'm talking about the size of a plate of about a centimetre thick with that sort of stuff on it. Places we can go and get for $20, and you get 2 or 3 big, round, fully stacked pancakes. What do you reckon, guys? I think it would be a winner. Pancakes cost like $1 or $2 to make, and they charge like $20 for them. Probably wouldn't even cost $1. So anyway, it might be a future endeavour. Jeez, I've got really off the point there, haven't I? I can't even remember what I was talking about. Damien, you brought it up, the banana with peanut butter and honey. All right, David. Jai will be 220 pounds at heavyweight. Will need a good 6 months wait, and then about 2 to 3 fights over 18 months to get seasoned at the weight. He will measure up for sure at heavyweight. He's a class above Parker. I agree, David. I agree with everything you said there. Andrew disagrees. He says Dubois ices Joe. He reminds me of Sonny Liston. That's a bold call there, Andrew. I haven't got to the heavyweight comments yet. I'm sure they're coming. He's found his courage. He gave up early, but now he's a different guy. Yeah, well, he obviously lost to Joyce, it was about 4 years ago, and lost to Usyk last year. So I'm not sure he reminds me of Sonny Liston there, Andrew, but he has improved a lot, 100%. Damien. Also, Warren, he goes, even De La Hoya scored it wide for Fury. Then you see a video of De La Hoya getting interviewed saying Usyk clearly won. Yeah, what was going on with De La Hoya? There was actually an interview mid-fight, and him saying he had, I think, Tyson Fury well in front. That was after about, was it 8 or 9 rounds, whatever? I'm thinking, Oscar, what are you doing over there, mate? There's no way Tyson Fury was winning the fight. Just my opinion, anyway. Usyk Ali would be epic. Would have been a strange fight, Damien. It's funny how you match 2 fighters from different eras. I just couldn't picture Usyk in with Ali, but he would give Ali problems. It's just the styles. Smaller guy. His style, he's in, he's out, the speed, the volume of punches. He'd give Ali some problems. Don't worry about that. I know that's almost sacrilege to those who love Ali, and I love him as well. But again, I think Usyk would give him problems. Glenn says, I don't care what Jai weighs. He absolutely won't carry the power. Ask Breeders what he thinks. Yeah, good call. All right, back to Tim and Michael. Zarafa is the villain, says Bill, because No Limit is BS. When they were on the same card, Zarafa wished Tim well. Sad Tim didn't do the same. I just can't see what all the hate is about. Could it be one has a massive checkbook? Lots of different things involved. Look, Bill, I get what you're saying there, mate, but Michael Zarafa certainly is no angel in this situation, mate. He said some pretty ordinary things about Tim, and I just think Tim said, well, if that's the way you want to get a fight with me, that ain't the way to do it. Don't insult me. You got to remember, what's his name in the chat, Janito, about this heritage he keeps talking about. Tim has got that Russian heritage about him. He's an Aussie, but he's got the Russian heritage where he's steely, and he's got his Russian values still, because obviously he comes from a Russian family, even though he loves the Aussie part of his heritage as well. He doesn't take well to the insults and the goading and all that sort of stuff. So it's an interesting one. I think by behaving the way he does, Michael is getting the Australian fight fans and the media all over the Tim fight, but probably not doing himself any favours as far as Tim himself goes. So all will be revolved in revealed in 2025 there, Bill. James says Usyk is definitely at least in the greatest of all time conversation. 100%, mate. AJ, Mr. Glassjaw, says Peter. Glenn, yeah, okay, that's your opinion. That's cool. With as far as Dempsey McKean goes, you remind me of those three barbers in the Eddie Murphy movie coming to America where they arguing about Rocky Marciano. Yeah, I do get stuck into Rocky a little bit. Look, it's not Rocky as such, Double G. It's when people compare Rocky, like someone did earlier, to other fighters. I'm just stating the facts. I myself wouldn't have Rocky Marciano in the top 10 of all time. I think there's plenty of other fighters out there that I would put in front of him. I think he's an all-time great. I get that. He's a legend, undefeated, but I'm just looking at the records, Double G. That's all I'm doing. And what's he say? Joe Lewis was 68 years old or 86 years old, whatever it was. But yeah, I do probably sound a bit that way, Double G. I apologise, mate. What's that? OG Lights Out. Hope you're well. Thanks, mate. Saw the Tassie clip falling off the stage. Poor bugger. Yeah. Oh, it would have been not good for the ego at the time. But I think at least he would see the funny side, mate. And, the fact he shared it all over his social media, I think he's embraced it. Because I think that's the best way to do it. Rather than try and hide it and, maybe interact with people on social media having a crack at it, just embrace it. So, yep, I did it like Michael Scott did in The Office. He said, yeah, what a stupid thing to do, and it just took the sting out of the whole thing. He'll always be that guy, though, won't he, OG? He's got a few of those moments, by the way, but he'll always be that guy that fell off the stage at the big fight. He won't care as long as he's got some attention from everyone. Double G Tim Tams, $7. Are you kidding me? $7 for Tim Tams. That is just crazy. All right, Mutty. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thanks very much, mate. Same to you and all the supporters of the channel. Keep up the good work. It's a great platform to voice your opinion and agree or disagree. We all get a go. No worries at all, Mutty, and thanks for all your support this year. Andrew says Ali would destroy Usyk. The Ali of 64 would win every round against Usyk. Okay, well, that's your opinion, Andrew. That's cool. Peter, the supermarkets control the prices because if they didn't drop the prices, they can take take them off the shelves. Yeah, well, they control everything, mate. And I know the way they work because I'm obviously from the liquor industry. They do the same. Woolworths, if you didn't know, they own BWS and Dan Murphy's. Coles own First Choice and Liquorland, and they do exactly the same thing. It's all smoke and mirrors. All smoke and mirrors. I'm telling you, you think you're getting a bargain at those bottle shops, and sometimes you are. But if you buy just that product. But if you get a slab of, say, VB on special for like $45 or something, go and have a look at everything else in the shop that week. Everything has cause and effect, as they say. For every action, there is a reaction. They're looking at profit across the board. So don't fall for the old smoke and mirrors. Now, if you only go in there for the VB, that's great. Go back in the week after when it's not on special and you're paying $65 for it. Okay, so that's just the way they roll. In our business, I try and have good, solid, everyday prices. Now, they might not be as good as their prices on special. So, for instance, they might have VB at $45. That's actually pretty cheap. They might have them at $50 for 1 week, and the next week they're $60 or $65. We might go $55 every single day of the week. So the people that shop with us know they can walk in any time, and they're going to be $55. Not, oh, shit, they were $50 last week, and now they're $65. That's the way they roll. Don't trust them, I'm telling you. The chains. They make massive amounts of money by all this smoke and mirrors effect that they do. And someone like Dan Murphy, I know I'm talking from a liquor point of view, just do your research on some of their prices. The perception out there is they're the cheapest on everything. I guarantee you if you do your homework, they're far from it. But good work from the marketing department because everyone thinks all Dan Murphys, they must be cheaper. Anyway, and besides, support your locals, whether it be groceries, butchers, the fruit and veg, liquor, support your locals. Because the chains, all their money goes overseas and you see none of it. Support your local bottle shop, grocer, butcher, whatever it might be. All right, rant over. All right, Glenn. Ali wouldn't have boxed anyone like Usyk. It wouldn't have been that simple. Yeah, maybe. I suppose just different eras, mate. I suppose we'll never know, will we? Here we go. Andrew says yes, but when Dempsey fought Tunney, he had not fought for 3 years and was living a Hollywood life. Yeah, okay, good call. I'll cop that. David, what's that? Usyk's opponents 558 wins, 80 losses. Everyone had a winning record, best run at cruiserweight ever, and cleaned out the heavyweights and all fights. Was the B-side. Fair dinkum, all-time great, that man. Couldn't have said it better myself, David. Hit it right on the head. I agree, Peter. Huni would not beat Otama, especially at the moment, mate. We'll see down the track. You could maybe see those guys fighting in maybe 4 or 5 years' time. Who knows? Yes, Double G. Jai, a good product from the New South Wales Central Coast. Don't tell that to Janito. He's gone, Peter. I've got rid of him. Oh, look, I don't mind. I don't want to be one of those ones that get all bent out of shape and keep banning people. It's very, very rare I'll ban someone, but he's just trolling guys. That's all he's doing. What's that, David? Not sure if you'll get my message in time, but Merry Christmas to all. Thank you, Lynden, for all you've done this year. No worries at all, David. Really appreciate that, mate, and all the best to you too. Sorry, Andy, I think I missed your super chat there. Apologies about that, mate. I'm not sure how long that's been there, but thank you very much. $10 from Andy. Thank you very much there, mate. Hello, boxing fans. Question for all. Where does Usyk rate amongst the all-time greats heavyweights, having achieved both cruiserweight and heavyweight undisputed? And yes, smash the like button, please. Yeah, I think he's definitely top 10, Andy. I'd have to have a good look. I would look, my top 10 just quickly without taking up too much time. My all-time top 10's always been Ali, Joe Louis, and Larry Holmes, the top 3. Larry Holmes and Joe Louis for me to line ball. Larry far too underrated, way too underrated as far as the histories go. I think that's the top 3: Ali, Lewis, and Holmes. Then I think you could throw in, I think George Foreman winning the heavyweight title, was it 20? No, what was it? Yeah, 20 years after he first won it. He's got to be in the conversation as well. So I would have George, possibly Joe Fraser. Lennox Lewis has got to be in the conversation. Maybe the Klitschko's. I rate or rank the Klitschko's very, very harshly because they had no competition. They just had nobody, no legacy fights for them. So it's really, apart from Lennox Lewis beat, who was it? Was it Vladimir? I think it was. Vlad Klitschko. So, yeah, I think you've got to, that would be, those types of guys in the mix. Holyfield's another one for me, would be in the conversation. So I'm not sure how many I've just rattled off, but they're the ones that would be in the conversation. But I think Usyk hangs with any of those guys, especially the ones probably from, say, 5 to 10. All right. Hanoi. Jai better beat Nyika. Can't have these Kiwis using us as a springboard like Kara France did versus Usyk in UFC. I don't know anything about that, Hanoi, but yeah, we don't want the Kiwis beating us Aussies. We can't have that. I think Jai gets the job done. I think Jai stops him late. I think Jai stops him. I better read it out for the people listening on Spotify. Tassie only damaged one of his heads. Oh, yeah. Well, he's from Tasmania. I'll pretend we didn't put that up. Apologies to Tassie. All right. Hanoi. If they could program AI to specific criteria for the sport, I should say, it could be the answer in the future. Yep, I agree there, mate. And he says AI judge can help give us fair outcomes in big fights where robberies can happen to sell trilogies. Yes, well, that's what I'm saying. It takes all that out of it. Here we go, Jack Dilks, and great to catch up with Jack on the weekend. I hope you had a good day, Jack, at the birthday. Does AI take away the champion's advantage? Good call. Ronnie Unker is a massive advocate for having to take the belt off the champion. Well, that's probably the only thing, Jack, that you're right, probably has to be taken into effect. If it's a really close round, I do it myself. I give it to the champion. I know that's not necessarily the right way to do it, but I don't like giving even rounds. So if it really comes down to it, I'm giving it to the champion. But you're right, it does take away the champion's advantage. But do we want it to really be a thing? Do we just want to be that the belt's at stake and two guys are in there fighting for it, and the right person that wins the fight wins the belt? I don't know. And Ronnie, don't worry about Ronnie. If you're watching, Ronnie, Merry Christmas to you too, mate. I might give you a call tomorrow. But, yeah, I get having to take the belt off the champion, but are we going away from that as well and just giving it to the fighter that deserves to win? I don't know. It's an interesting argument. What's that there? Lyndon, I was only pointing out the 100% Aussies, but I agree with you. If you're home Australia, you're an Aussie. Yep, 100%, Andrew. I know we've discussed this in the past about Costa Zoo. I've never considered him Australian, and I think I'm justified, and I think I'm correct. A Russian fighter, born, bred, raised in Russia, had all his amateur career in Russia, came to Australia for his pro career, and then went home to Russia. So that is, to me, a Russian fighter based in Australia. That's not Australian, which is why I've never been in my pound-for-pound list. But yeah, look, Australia's made up of every ethnicity on the planet, every culture, like America is, like England is. I mean, geez, there's no such thing these days, I think, as just a purebred? Is that what you're going to call us? A purebred Aussie? We're all mongrels. We're all just bits and pieces. All right. Brett, g'day, gents. Where does Dan Hill stand up in this? Could he get Cohen? Good fight. I think, are they different weights? So, oh, no, he's Cohen a middleweight. I think he's 154, isn't he? Good fight, though, Brett. I'd like to see a bit more of Dan. I would like to see him get some fights against someone like Kyle Mazudia, maybe Kamakayo, maybe Ben Mahoney. Plenty of good fights out there. What a division that is, the 154 to 160. Some great fights to be made. I better get through these or else I'm going to be here all night, guys. AI can be programmed, says Hanoi, to recognise if fighters retreat after punches or are fatigued. Okay, well, and you would think that it would get more advanced as the years go on, which is probably why they're just starting with it now. Starting with this just test, they might just start to just play with it and tweak a few things, and maybe they'll just start bringing it into maybe prelim fights, whatever it might be, and then build up to a world title fight and then one of the big fights. But I reckon, maybe I'm exaggerating, but I reckon we could be up to about 5 years before it would be used in a fight of the magnitude of Fury and Usyk. But you never know. Who are they going to complain about then? That biased AI judge? All right, I'll keep going. I think I've got through some of them there. All right, Peter says, look at what Opataya did to Massey and look at what Parker did to Massey. Opataya smokes him. Let's hope so, Peter. Again, styles make fights. Andy, the bigger this channel gets, the more trolls we'll see, sadly. There's some terrible drama-loving trolls that played the YouTube boxing community. Well, they won't last long here, Andy. He was banned a while back, Janito. As I said, I don't mind people coming on, and even if you want to give us a bit of stick about Aussies, it happens all the time. But just don't be a dick about it, and don't deliberately bait people. Then you're gone. Okay, go to some other channel about that. But if you want to come on and have a bit of a dig, hey, that's fine. We can take it, but just don't be a dick. All right, Andrew. Parker not fighting Usyk. Dubois KOing Joe. Yeah, well. Peter, Frank Warren is a tosser. Back that up. Yep, I agree. You haven't realised the way you've written that there, Brett. He agrees with Peanut. That is Peter Nut. But he's put peanut. Agree with peanut. I like it. So, Peter, you're a peanut. Collingwood supporter, Brett. I sneak in with the humans every now and then. All right, James. Usyk is in the top 10 conversation now, but if he beats the winner of Parker and Dubois, that should start to make him in contention for top 5 at least. I agree, James. Already in the top 10. Not sure a win over Parker or Dubois would be enough to get him in. I mean, in the top 5, again, Ali, Lewis, Holmes, Who else did I say? Maybe Holyfield, Lewis, Foreman. I think Foreman's got to be in the top 4. And then you've got the top 5. It could be a number of fighters. I think Lewis has definitely got to be in the conversation. I think, I don't know. There's a few. But I think it's at this stage, he would need to do more. Well, what else can he do, though? Can you do any more than beat the best fighters of your era? And he's done that numerous times. So what else does he have to do? I just think the top 3 for me is in stone. Ali, Lewis, Holmes. The amount of big fights they won, the amount of defenses they had. And then you've got Foreman, who I think, again, is untouchable for what he did. It's that 5th spot that might be up for grabs. But I've got someone like maybe Lewis, Holyfield. I don't know. It's arguable. I think end of the day we've got 10 heavyweights and they could be in any order of whatever they may fall. So I don't know. What's that there, James? Lemon juice and icing mixture on your pancakes, mate. I remember back in the day having lemon juice and sugar. So, but icing mixture, I've never had that before. Plenty of concoctions out there. What's that there? Denny's in Gisborne. Yes. From Google user. Okay, no name there. Yes. I got to tell you though, mate, I went to Google I'm talking to. I went to Denny's when we were in America last month, mate, and it was shocking. Wasn't good at all. But I've got to say, I went to IHOP, my all-time favourite. Went to IHOP. I've been there many times before and got some massive big stacks of pancakes. Mate, I'm telling you, they were, if you can see that, about that big. And there was 4 of them. I got 4 pancakes. And I thought, I'm going to get 4 pancakes, whether I eat them or not. I've got to get 4. If 4 are available, I'm getting 4. I finished them off no drama because I was so thin and so small. And my wife, Tara, got a double stack. Well, they're like 2 pikelets stacked on top. And she had to get something to eat a couple of hours or an hour later or something because she was still hungry. So, but I like it. Denny's in Gisborne. Just a place to have breakfast, guys, or brunch. Don't even worry about lunch, or maybe close at lunchtime, or whatever, or 1 o'clock, whatever it might be. Just breakfast. Pancakes, waffles, even bacon and eggs. You can get those anywhere. Just pancakes and waffles and cinnamon rolls and that sort of stuff. Now we're cooking. All right. Now I'm hungry. All right, Bill. With Grant, it's not. Oh, this is Tassie. It's not luck. The man, the most cheeky man ever lived, but he has a special charisma because no one else could pull it off. He really is a magic man. I'll give you that, Bill. He is a one-of-a-kind, mate, and I must admit, I couldn't do what he does. And even to the point when we were overseas a couple of years together in Vegas for Canelo and Triple G, I think it was, he was front row in the press conference in the weigh-in, and he was interviewing people and catching up with people. And I just ended up saying to him, Bill, hey, Tassie, don't wait for me. It's not really my thing. You go and do what you got to do. I just did my thing. He did his, and we'd catch up for dinner. And he doesn't drink, but I'd have a drink. We'd catch up, and we sat together at the fights and all that sort of stuff. But I just said, Tassie, don't let me hold you back, mate. Just go for it. And he was front and square everywhere. All right, Andy, what have we got? About 20 minutes to go. It goes so quick. Parker definitely deserves a title shot, having worked his way back up, with very real chance versus Dubois. Being a better boxer, or Dubois will likely looks to bully Joe. Yeah, good call. Good call there, Andy. I think Parker gets the job done. How can Usyk be top 5? Ali, Johnson, Lewis, Fraser, Foreman. Yep, good call, Andrew. Good shout out again for getting rid of that dipshit Janino. It must be George Rose's son. Yeah. Peter, stay away from Woolworths and Venue Co. Yes, they're the ones that wanted to ban Australia Day. I will never support either of those companies, Peter. I think Coles had the brains to sit back and let Woolworths just drown themselves, didn't they? That's what you got to do sometimes. Just stay silent. It's the best weapon you can have with your opposition. Just sit back and let them ruin themselves. And Woolworths just killed themselves as far as I'm concerned. And the Venue Co, yes, that's a finger to you too. They're the ones that said no Australia Day celebrations. All right, Andy, Zarafa is happy to play the villain to get a fight versus a Zoo brother. Can be seen as distasteful or disrespectful, but is really just there to sell it. Strictly business. Yep, good call, Andy. Not going to argue with that one. Rocky never lost his era. That's all he can do. Yeah, I'm just using everyone else's argument, though, Andrew. Just never had that legacy fight. And it's not his fault. He just never had one. Beating, 38 or 39-year-old Joe Louis and even older Charles and Jersey Joe Walcott. Archie Moore was probably mid-40s. I just don't think a legend of his era, Andrew, I'm with you. But overall, in the history of boxing, I just don't have Rocky Marciano in my top 10. I just don't. Double G says, seriously, don't know how people can afford to drink and smoke in this country. Big chunk of pay packet. Well, mate, I've been at store level sometimes. I've had someone come in and grab a slab of beer and a packet of 40s, and they will pay over $100. Over $100 for a slab of beer and a packet of smokes. Yep. You can go to America and get the same thing for probably about $40, $35, $40. Well, maybe not that cheap. But you can get a slab of beer in the right place of America. They're all got different taxes and all that sort of stuff, and charges and fees. But you can, like, I think I was over there last month and there was domestic beer, Bud. I think they do them in 12 packs. So over there, 12 pack for $10. $10 for a 12 pack of Bud Stubbies, and probably $10 for a pack of smokes. I don't know. I don't smoke, but just crazy. It is the way and this is what I think opens your eyes when you're overseas, that the amount of tax and excise we have in this country, I've never seen it anywhere else in the world. And here's a quick one for you. Again, when I was in America, I went to a supermarket, I went to the spirit shelves. Now, here's an example. There we have a bottle of, say, 700ml Jack Daniels. All right, so over here, you might pay up to $60, $55 to $60 for a 700ml bottle of Jack, depending on whether it's on special or whatever. The same bottle in America, $30. Might even be on special for even less, but that is every day, $30. Jim Beam, $25 for a 700ml bottle of Jim Beam. And if you're a drinker, you know how cheap that is. I've been in places too, I think it was about 5 years ago, so a little bit of time ago, a 1 litre of Smirnoff vodka for $12. 1 litre for $12. All the money you're paying here in Australia is excise and tax. That's what you're paying for. And I know I'm running out of time here, but a bottle of full-strength spirit, a 700ml, 37% bottle of, say, Johnny Walker, Jim Beam, whatever it might be, if it's 37% in a 700ml bottle, you're paying $25 to $30 in excise before you even start. Before you factor in the cost of goods and the freight and the margin, $25 to $30 before anything's even made. That's what you're up against. So that's why everyone's going offshore and making the stuff. It is ridiculous. And what they do, domestic beer, they just bring it in. I can get Corona off the docks here in Melbourne for about $15 to $20 cheaper than I can buy it from Melbourne, from CUB. That's how much you're being ripped off, guys. It is ridiculous. Anyway, Bill, Chock was the Oz version of Mayweather, money man. So yeah, proven to work. Clearly, I like Zarafa, but I love all Aussie fighters. Yep. I'll just race through a few comments there, guys. So Andy, Usyk is king of the backyard killers. He's the very definition of a world champion travelling abroad. Well said, Andy. He has achieved everything that has to be accomplished in the sport of boxing, both amateurs and pros. 100%, mate. Peter, what's that? Jack Dempsey had 83 fights, 63 wins, and 9 draws, and he was only 6-1. Yep. So does that mean he's had 11 losses? So 63 wins. 9 draws. They must have scored differently back then. But the winning record's not great there, Peter. I don't know how it worked back then. I know you just can't compare. I'm not saying he wasn't a great fighter. He just didn't have any legacy wins. You can only go by the competition they fought and who they beat. I think that's all you can go by. There's plenty of other fighters out there were great fighters, but they just didn't have the competition like Jack Dempsey. Even Jack Johnson, a lot of defences, but didn't really have the opposition. And I feel for him because he didn't have it. I know he went way back, but it's just the sport. It's not like, a team sport where you've got a fixture and you play each other twice or 3 times, whatever it might be, and you've got consistent opportunities to prove yourself. Boxing's not like that. And if you haven't got the right competition around, you just can't be judged properly. That's all I get. Dempsey 3 years out. Well, it's fact, Andrew. But who did he beat? You tell me an all-time great that he beat, and I'll shut up, as they say. I will shut up if you give me an all-time great that Jack Dempsey beat. Of note. Let me know. Here I am. Let me know, Andrew. Yep, Jack Johnson was awesome. Yep, he was. Happy Christmas to you, AP. Peter, in 1918, Dempsey had 17 fights, 15-1, won no contest, and it proves these are different times. Some fighters only fight once a year, sometimes every 18 months, Peter. It's just, I would have loved to have been back then, Peter, and regularly seeing those all-time greats, and those massive crowds I used to get at, Madison Square Garden and those outside fights where they get 100,000 there. It's just a different time, mate. I'd go back just the 80s, if I'm being honest, 80s and 90s. I'd go back there in a second. All right, we're getting into some rankings, are we? Lewis, Ali, number 1 and 2. Holmes, Foreman, 3 and 4. Yep, so the same 4 as me. Lennox, 5, still stands for me all time at the moment until another very thorough comparison. Usyk likely in top 10 for me. Yep, I'm with you there, Andy. You got the same top 4 as me. And Lennox, Lewis, yeah, arguably number 5. There's probably half a dozen fighters you could make an argument with, but Lennox would be very close. I think Evander Holyfield gets maybe underrated a little bit as well for what he did. Again, cruiserweight champion, undisputed heavyweight champion as well. And I know he had the draw with Lennox and lost the next one, but again, I just think Holyfield just a great champion as well. What's that there? When they get dialed in, what's that there? When they get dialed in, AI will be better than any judges, unbiased and no emotion involved. I agree there, mate. Dennis, it's a blessing to have discovered. Oh, thanks, mate. Discovered the channel. Love your work. Great discussions and insights. Have a great Christmas to you and all the guys. You too, Dennis. Thank you very much, mate, and all the best to you. Andy, my comparison considered accomplishments resume. Who else around that era? Titles held, defenses, etc. Joe, personally, my third favourite heavyweight, but didn't make my top 10, all things considered. Yeah, no, I'm with you, though, and that's all I'm saying. We've all got our favourite fighters, and I know Rocky Marciano is one that a lot of people love, and he's an icon and a legend and all that sort of stuff. I get it. I'm just looking at it for what it is. For me, Larry Holmes, what was it? What did he make? Was it 16, 17, 18, 19, whatever defences it was, but cleaned out the division. And whether you ranked the fighters at the time, whatever, he did have some legacy fights, the Cooney fight, but he fought Weaver and Burbick and all the Witherspoon, all those fighters of the era, Bone Crusher Smith, just cleaned the division out. So that's for me, Larry Holmes, and I think he would have easily competed in any other era, the Ali era, the 60s, 50s, 40s, whatever it might have been. Larry Holmes would have competed no problem. So, but I like what you're saying there, Andy. Just go by the facts. I'm just going to turn this off there. That's why I'm getting it colourful. I've got a little neon or little light that changes colours like this one at the back of me there. Hey, there's one. The top pound for pound flog is Jake Paul. No argument there, mate. I like that, Double G. The Sweet Science Stack. I like it. Lyndon's Roadhouse Pancake Shack. I love it, Double G. All right, Damien, I paid $90 for a bottle of the Rocks Terramana tequila, and there it's like $30. Mate, it's all excise. And plus, it's a little bit probably more if they're shipping it out, and they tend to whack a bit of that sort of tax on it as well. That, hey, we've got it from overseas for you, so we'll whack another $10 on it. But it's all excise, mate. That's what you're paying. Thanks very much, Paul. All the best to you too, mate. I've got a few more comments here. I think I'm almost to the bottom of it. And he says, I put all best heavyweights up on a whiteboard side by side and picked through the lot closely with consideration. Fraser was squeezed out between Ali and Foreman. Dempsey didn't make my cut either. Well, here's something I might do, guys. Here's something I might do. We might do it even live, so you can all have your say and tell me how much I don't know about boxing. What we might do, we might get what I think is the top 10 of all time. Actually, we might make it the top 16, so we can have a bit more flexibility. And I'm sure we'll cover everyone's top 16 then, because that's a fair old net to cast. And what I'll do, I'll put them all in a little bit of a lottery. We'll pick them out against each other, and we'll have a bit of a virtual tournament, and we'll get down to the final. Let's just hope we don't have Muhammad Ali versus Joe Louis first fight. Let's hope we might have to have a side of the draw. Okay, so maybe it's every second fighter. So we have 8 each side, but we have an even spread, so we don't hopefully to get those guys fighting. But we might do that live, and everyone can, if I can work out how to do a poll, we might be able to work it in. But anyway, we'll do something like that. But I like your style there, Andy. Peter, I'm with you there, mate. Tyson's best was the best. I think he gets very, very harshly judged, Mike Tyson, more so for the later stage of his career. Go back to when he was in his prime, mate. He was a wrecking ball, and like Larry Holmes, cleaned out the division. Every single person of note of his era cleaned them out. So, for me, one of the greatest. Not necessarily the top 5, but I think top 10 too, Mike Tyson. Sam, all the best for Christmas for you and all the listeners. Thank you very much, Sam. Appreciate that, mate. Who's coming to the Goldie for Jai's fight? I might get there, Paul. Let's see. Peter, Merry Christmas to you too, mate. Really appreciate that, mate. Let's get fire up the DeLorean and go back to the 80s. What an era it was, Double G. The 80s and 90s, and even maybe the 70s as well. Just a great time to be. I was a bit young for the 70s, of course, but I was born in the 70s, raised in the 80s, I think they say, and then we rocked in the 90s. What an era that I was lucky enough to be born in. The 80s and 90s, being a teenager in the 80s was awesome, but then being in the 90s with the way everything, the movies and the music and the whole culture thing was awesome. So I feel very, very lucky. Brett, Merry Christmas to you too there, mate. Andrew, Usyk beat AJ and Fury. How good are they? Well, I mean, they're the best of the era. Up until he beat them, they were very highly regarded, Andrew. People were talking about Tyson Fury being good enough to beat Muhammad Ali. AJ, I mean, he was being talked about in the top, one of the all-time greats as well. So, I don't know. Peter, our government get drunk on the taxes. They do, mate. The amount of money they make through excise and taxes is ridiculous. As I said, $25 to $30 before you even start. And if you factor in the cost of the goods, so the glass and the labels and the labour and shipping, all that sort of stuff, and then you put, I'm not sure what margin the suppliers make out of it, but the wholesaler makes, but the wholesaler then makes their cut, and then the retailer makes their cut. And the retailer would normally make about 10 to 12 or maybe 10 to 15% on the bottle of spirits. Just crazy, mate. It is just bizarre. Andy, 1 to 3 fights, but Fraser, less total fights and defences. Foreman beat him more than once while Ali beat Foreman, but Foreman also returned after a long layoff and is oldest to come back and be champ again. Lots of factors involved, Andy. You can have the he beat him, but then he beat him argument. You know, so I don't know. I mean, you look back again, although Ali was out of the ring for a while, the first Ali-Fraser fight, Fraser got the job done against a peak Muhammad Ali. But then, of course, Foreman beat Fraser, Ali beat Foreman. I'm not going to necessarily go by who beat who, because, again, styles make fights. I'm going by their resume. That's what I'm going by. What's that? Mike Tyson, my first favourite heavyweight, but not in my top 5. Yeah, I wouldn't have him in the top 5, Andy, but I'd have him in my top 10. I always cheer for Aussie fighters, but when we lose to other countries, winner still gets my full props. Got to keep it 100%. Yep, I agree, Andy. Peter, well, we're getting into dangerous waters here with the politics. Vote these Labor stooges out, state and federal. Enough is enough. Well, I am not going to delete that comment, Peter, because I agree with it 100%. Get rid of Labor. They are the cancer of this state and the cancer of this country. All right, Double G, all the best to you too, mate. Thanks for everything. The best Aussie channel, hands down. Oh, well, I appreciate that, Double G. There's a few good channels out there, though, but I appreciate you choosing this one, mate. I have a lot of fun doing it. Damien, where is all this money going? Pathetic. Let's move in with Tassie Brown. Oh, well, look, the thing is, Damien, I wouldn't have a problem paying all the taxes and excise if I could see some value for my money. And especially if you're from Victoria, the amount of money they've just wasted in the last few years, and I'll say it again, $380 million for the Commonwealth Games that never happened. The $1 billion they wasted on the highway they never built, or the freeway, whatever it was. Not to mention the COVID money that we're now paying back. This is the thing at the time that gets me with the, I can't really say it on air, can I, these days, with all the algorithms and everything, but whatever, I don't care. But during COVID, you know, everyone's saying, oh, the government, what a great job, and they're handing out all this money, and everyone's quitting jobs because they're getting all these handouts. Well, guess who's paying now, guys? Us. All of us are paying, whether it be by more taxes at business level or rates and all this stuff on second properties, all that sort of thing, we are now paying, and they're open about it. Look at your statement on your investment property. It clearly states this is a COVID tax to reclaim all that money. So nothing's ever for free. And all politicians are bastards. That's my opinion anyway. Except for our man in America, Trump, because he's not a politician. All right. Andy, I had a brain strain going through doing thorough comparisons, so settled and comfortable with my conclusion. That's a heavyweight. Yeah, good stuff, mate. Let's bring in a women's behaviour reform. That's dangerous territory, Damien. Yes, Andy, accomplishments-based comparison too. Yeah, I agree. This is why I've never gone into the Rocky Marciano. I know I'm going to cop it again probably from Andrew about Rocky Marciano. But just because you're 49-0 doesn't mean you're whatever in the all-time great list. Okay? Because Julio Cesar Chavez was 87-0, could have retired at 87-0, and probably could have had an argument by his fans saying he was the greatest pound for pound of all time because of his record. Floyd Mayweather, 50-0. I think he's definitely in the top 10 all time, just in my opinion, of all time, of all weight divisions. But just because you've got an undefeated record, for me, doesn't mean shit. It goes by accomplishments. And sometimes the greatest fighters have had numerous losses because they fought the other greats. I mean, Muhammad Ali lost 5 fights. But the legacy he created by the opponents that he fought and the results that he got against those guys, that's what made him the champion that he is and the icon that he is. Thanks, James. Merry Christmas to you too, mate. We've got a couple of minutes to go there. Should Tim go down a weight division to get away from these taller fighters, or should he seize how George Kambosos goes? No, I don't think he should look at seeing how George Kambosos goes. I just think he should go to the division that he's comfortable in. I would stay at 154 if he can still make the weight comfortably. If he's having a few problems, then maybe go to 160. But if he can make 154, stay at 154. Uh-oh, here we go. Come on, Lynden, Fury and AJ, are they better than Charles, Walcott and Moore? Well, I don't know. It's arguable, Andrew. Ezzard Charles and Jersey Joe Walcott, at the time, I mean, Archie Moore was a great light heavyweight, weren't viewed at that time as all-time greats like they are now. They were viewed probably like Fury and AJ are viewed at the moment. Good heavyweight champions who probably didn't really get those legacy wins. That's how they're viewed. Now we at the time, but now we view them as legends because the benefit of time. Fury and AJ in 50 years' time or 80 years' time might be viewed a lot differently than what they are now. And Usyk might get more props because he beat them. I don't know. But at the time, Charles and Walcott weren't revered fighters. They were just respected former heavyweight champions who lost more big fights than they won. Who does that remind you of? Fury and AJ. So I'm just saying, mate, benefit of time. Just wait and see. All right, Alan said, this is Jacinta Allen, was it? So the plane was coming to Victoria for the fires months ago and it hasn't arrived because we don't have the money. What a shit show. Couldn't have said it any better, Peter. Just bizarre. This government. We had Daniel Andrews and we now have inherited Jacinta Allen without even voting her in. Crazy. All right, Robert, we've got a couple more comments and we'll end this show, guys. I'm late, only started watching, but I got a refund for the fight and a month of my subscription after complaining to DAZN. All right, guys, if you are one of those that had the bad experience yesterday with DAZN, get in and follow Robert's lead and get a refund. I had the fight 118-112 for Usyk, which is the same as the AI judge. Apparently it was, mate. Now, I don't judge any rounds. I don't judge any rounds even, so I had it 7 rounds to 5. But, yeah, mate, well, that bodes well for the AI, doesn't it? That fans like you have the same opinion. So, all right, Peter, Rocky was the greatest of all time. That's great in your opinion, mate. Then that's fine. That is fine. I don't see it that way, but that's why it's great talking about fighters from past eras. I, again, didn't have him in my top 10 of all time, but that's great, mate. That's your opinion. And to a lot of people, he was one of the all-time greats and a legend as well. I'm not debating as a legend, by the way. I just don't see him in the same sort of class as some of the others. But anyway, that's why we talk boxing on here, isn't it? And yes, Sam, I agree with that. So, guys, having said that, I'm going to leave it at that. Hang on, we've got one more. Ali lost 5 fights, but not in the 60s. Yeah, I'm just saying, if you go purely by records, he lost 5 fights. But to me, He's a 10 times better fighter than Rocky Marciano was. I don't get that stupid computer fight either, by the way. But he had 5 losses. Rocky had none. Legacy-wise, Ali by a mile. I'm just saying. Andy, AJ's more successful defenses, though. Yes, good point, Andy. But was just 1 belt back then. Though, yes, again, 1 belt back then. Now is you've got a choice of 4 belts. So, sorry, Rocky from the movie. Yes, Rocky Balboa. How can we forget Rocky Balboa? Hey, here's another thing I was thinking about doing, guys. I know it's only going to be a bit of fun over the holiday period when we're not much going on. I do agree with you, Peter, 100%. That maybe we might do a dream fight thing of all the Rocky characters against each other and see who wins. I'm just going to do some fun stuff over the holiday period as well, just to see how it goes. Now, before I have you all coming at me, telling I'm an idiot for doing it, I'm going to end this right here and now. So, guys, I'm just going to say thank you very much so far. We have got one more show next week, as I said at the start. Next Monday night will be the 30th, I think it is. Andrew. But yeah, I just want to take the opportunity to thank everyone, all of you out there, for tuning in. The channel continues to grow. I really love the feedback, whether it's good or bad, as long as it's done with respect. And without you guys, there is no channel. So I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great Christmas, Happy New Year, all that sort of stuff. And again, from my family to yours, I hope you have a great Christmas and keep watching Walking Boxing and all the other stuff coming up. There's plenty more to come. So have a great week, guys. Have a great Christmas, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.